LA Theatre Works presents A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, starring Judy Ann Elder, Corey Antonio Hawkins, Deirdre Henry, Terrell Tilford, Rutina Wesley, Myron E. Willis, James Gleason, and Noah Gray Cabey, directed by Lou Bellamy. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Inspired by these words from a poem by Langston Hughes, Lorraine Hansberry created one of the seminal works of American theater, which became the first play by an African-American woman to be produced on Broadway. Her groundbreaking work brought attention to America's growing civil rights movement and earned Hansberry the New York Drama Critics Circle Award for Best Play when she was all of 29 years old. Hansberry became the youngest playwright and the first African-American to win that honor. And now, A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, produced by LA Theatre Works.
The younger living room would be a comfortable and well-ordered room if it were not for a number of indestructible contradictions to this state of being. Its furnishings are typical and undistinguished, and their primary feature now is that they have clearly had to accommodate the living of too many people for too many years, and they are tired. Still, we can see that at some time, a time probably no longer remembered by the family except perhaps for Mama, the furnishings of this room were actually selected with care and love and even hope, and brought to this apartment and arranged with taste and pride. That was a long time ago. Now the once loved pattern of the couch upholstery has to fight to show itself from under acres of crocheted doilies and couch covers which have themselves finally come to be more important than the upholstery, and here a table or a chair has been moved to disguise the worn places in the carpet, but the carpet has fought back by showing its wariness with depressing uniformity elsewhere on its surface. Wariness has, in fact, won in this room. Everything has been polished, washed, sat on, used, scrubbed too often. All pretenses but living itself have long since vanished from the very atmosphere of this room. Moreover, a section of this room, for it is not really a room unto itself, though the landlord's lease would make it seem so, slopes backward to provide a small kitchen area, where the family prepares the meals that are eaten in the living room proper, which must also serve as dining room. The single window that has been provided for these two rooms is located in the kitchen area. The sole natural light the family may enjoy in the course of a day is only that which fights its way through this little window. At left, a door leads to a bedroom which is shared by Mama and her daughter Benicia. At right, opposite, is a second room, which in the beginning of the life of the apartment was probably a breakfast room, which serves as a bedroom for Walter and his wife Ruth. Time, sometime between World War II and the present. Place, Chicago's South Side. At rise, it is morning dark in the living room. Travis is asleep on the make-down bed at center. An alarm clock sounds from within the bedroom at right, and presently Ruth enters from that room and closes the door behind her. She crosses sleepily toward the window. As she passes her sleeping son, she reaches down and shakes him a little. At the window, she raises the shade, and a dusky south side morning light comes in feebly. She fills a pot with water and puts it on to boil. She calls to the boy, between yawns, in a slightly muffled voice. Ruth is about 30. We can see that she was a pretty girl, even exceptionally so, but now it is apparent that life has been little that she expected, and disappointment has already begun to hang in her face. In a few years, before 35 even, she will be known among her people as a settled woman. She crosses to her son and gives him a good final rousing shake.
Wake up, Travis. Travis. Come on now, boy, wake up. Come on, Travis, it's 7:30.
Her son sits up at last in a stupor of sleepiness.
I said hurry up, Travis. You ain't the only person in the world got to use the bathroom.
The child, a sturdy, handsome little boy of 10 or 11, drags himself out of the bed and almost blindly takes his towels and today's clothes from drawers in a closet and goes out to the bathroom, which is an outside hall and which is shared by another family or families on the same floor. Ruth crosses to the bedroom door at right and opens it and calls in to her husband.
Just 5 more minutes. Travis, wake up. Whew. Walter Lee. Walter Lee, it's after 7:30. Let me see you doing some waking up in there now.
She waits.
You better get up from there, man. It's 7:30, I tell you.
She waits again.
All right. You go on ahead and lay there, and the next thing you know, Travis will be finished, and Mr. Johnson will be in there, and you'll be fussing and cussing around here like a madman. And be late, too.
She waits at the end of her patience.
Walter Lee, it's time for you to get up.
She waits another second and then starts to go into the bedroom, but is apparently satisfied that her husband has begun to get up. She stops, pulls the door to, and returns to the kitchen area. She wipes her face with a moist cloth and runs her fingers through her sleep disheveled hair in a vain effort and ties an apron around her housecoat. The bedroom door at right opens and her husband stands in the doorway in his pajamas, which are rumpled and mismated. He is a lean, intense young man in his mid-30s, inclined to quick, nervous movements and erratic speech habits. And always, in his voice, there's a quality of indictment.
Is he out yet?
What you mean out? He ain't hardly got in there good yet.
Wandering in, still more oriented to sleep than to a new day.
Well, what was you doing all that yelling for if I can't even get in there yet?
Stopping and thinking.
The check coming today?
They said Saturday, and this is just Friday. And I hopes to God you ain't gonna get up here first thing this morning and start talking to me about no money. Because I about don't want to hear it.
Paper come? Something the matter with you this morning, Ruth?
No, I'm just sleepy as the devil. What kind of eggs you want?
Not scrambled.
Ruth starts to scramble eggs. Ruth points impatiently to the rolled up Tribune on the table, and he gets it and spreads it out and vaguely reads the front page.
They set off another A-bomb yesterday.
Maximum indifference.
Did they?
Looking up.
Now, what's the matter with you?
Ain't nothing the matter with me. And don't keep asking me.
Ain't nobody bothering you.
Reading the news of the day absently again.
They say here Colonel McCormick is sick.
Affecting Tea Party interest.
Is he now? Poor thing.
Sighing and looking at his watch. He waits.
And what is that boy doing in that bathroom all this time? He just gonna have to start getting up earlier. I can't be being late to work on account of him fooling around in there.
Turning on him.
Oh, no, he ain't going to be getting up no earlier, no such thing. It ain't his fault that he can't get to bed because he got a bunch of crazy, good-for-nothing clowns run their mouths in what's supposed to be his bedroom after 10 o'clock at night.
That's what you mad about, ain't it? The things I want to talk about with my friends couldn't be important in your mind, could they?
He rises and finds a cigarette in her handbag on the table and crosses to the little window and looks out, smoking and deeply enjoying his first one. Almost matter-of-factly, a complaint too automatic to deserve emphasis.
Walter, why you always got to smoke before you eat in the morning?
At the window,
Just look at him down there, running and racing to work.
he turns and faces his wife and watches her a moment at the stove, and then suddenly,
You look young this morning, baby.
indifferently,
Yeah.
Just for a second, stirring them eggs. Just for a second, you look real young again.
he reaches for her. She crosses away. Then dryly,
It's gone now. You look like yourself again.
Man, if you don't shut up and leave me alone.
looking out to the street again.
First thing a man ought to learn in life is not to make love to no colored woman first thing in the morning. Y'all some evil people at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Travis appears in the hall doorway, almost fully dressed and quite wide awake now, his towels and pajamas across his shoulders. He opens the door and signals for his father to make the bathroom in a hurry. watching the bathroom.
Come on, Daddy, come on.
Well, I'm coming. I'm coming.
Well, hurry
Come
up.
on, here comes Mr. Johnson coming down the hall.
Oh, I'm coming.
Go on.
Walter gets his bathroom utensils and flies out the bathroom.
Sit down and eat your breakfast, Travis.
Mama, this is Friday.
Gleefully,
Check coming tomorrow, huh?
You get your mind off money and eat your breakfast.
eating,
Well, this is the morning we supposed to bring the 50 cents to school.
Well, I ain't got no 50 cents this morning.
Teachers say we have to.
I don't care what teachers say. I ain't got it. Eat your breakfast, Travis.
I am eating.
Hush up now and just eat.
the boy gives her an exasperated look for the lack of understanding and eats grudgingly.
You think Grandmama would have it?
No. And I want you to stop asking your grandmother for money. You hear me?
Outraged,
Golly, I don't ask her. She just give me it sometime.
Travis, a little younger. I got too much on me this morning.
Maybe Daddy.
Travis!
the boy hushes abruptly. They're both quiet and tense for several seconds. Presently,
Could I maybe go carry some groceries in front of the supermarket after school then?
Just hush, I said.
Travis jabs his spoon into his cereal bowl viciously and rests his head in anger upon his fists.
Well, if you're through eating, you can make up your bed.
The boy obeys stiffly and crosses the room, almost mechanically, to the bed and more or less folds the bedding into a heap, then angrily gets his books and a cap,
I'm gone.
sulking and standing apart from her unnaturally, looking up from the stove to inspect him automatically.
Come here.
He crosses to her and she studies his head.
If you don't take this comb and fix this here head, you better.
Travis puts down his books with a great sigh of oppression and crosses to the mirror. His mother mutters under her breath about his slubberness.
About to march out of here with that head looking like chicken slept in it. I just don't know where you get your stubborn way.
With conspicuously brushed hair and jacket.
I'm gone.
And get your jacket, too. It looks chilly outside. Get your car fare and milk money.
Waving one finger
And not 1 penny for no caps, you hear me?
with sullen politeness.
Yes,
He turns in outrage to leave. His mother watches after him, as in his frustration he approaches the door almost comically. When she speaks to him, her voice has become a very gentle tease, mocking as she thinks he would say it.
Oh, Mama makes me so mad sometimes. I don't know what to do.
She waits and continues to his back as he stands stock still in front of the door.
Oh, I wouldn't kiss that woman goodbye this morning.
The boy finally turns around and rolls his eyes at her, knowing the mood has changed and he is vindicated. He does not, however, move toward her yet.
Not for nothing in this world.
She finally laughs out loud at him and holds out her arms to him, and we see that it is a way between them, very old and practiced. He crosses to her and allows her to embrace him warmly, but keeps his face fixed with masculine rigidity. She holds him back from her presently and looks at him and runs her fingers over the features of his face with utter gentleness.
Not for nothing in this world. Come here. Now, whose little old angry man are you?
The masculinity and gruffness start to fade at last.
Oh, golly, Mama.
Oh, golly, Mama.
She pushes him with rough playfulness and finally toward the door.
Get on out of here. You're going to be late.
In the face of love, new aggressiveness.
Mama, could I please go carry groceries?
Honey, it's starting to get so cold evening.
Coming in from the bathroom and drawing a make-believe gun from a make-believe holster and shooting at his son.
What is it he wants to do?
Go carry groceries at the supermarket.
Well, let him go.
Quickly to the ally.
I have to. She won't give me the 50 cents.
To his wife only.
Why not?
Simply and with flavor.
'Cause we don't have it.
To Ruth only.
What'd you tell the boy things like that for?
Reaching down into his pants with a rather important gesture.
Here, son.
He hands the boy the coin, but his eyes are directed to his wife's. Travis takes the money happily.
Thanks, Daddy.
He starts out. Ruth watches both of them with murder in her eyes. Walter stands and stares back at her with defiance. And suddenly reaches into his pocket again on an afterthought. Without even looking at his son, still staring hard at his wife.
In fact, here's another 50 cents. You buy yourself some fruit today or take a taxi cab to school or something.
Whoopee!
He leaps up and clasps his father around the middle with his legs, and they face each other in mutual appreciation. Slowly, Walter Lee peeks around the boy to catch the violent rays from his wife's eyes and draws his head back as if shot.
Hey, you better get down now and get to school, man.
At the door,
Okay, goodbye.
he exits. After him, pointing with pride,
That's my boy.
she looks at him in disgust and turns back to her work.
You know what I was thinking about in the bathroom this morning?
No.
How come you always try to be so pleasant?
What is there to be pleasant about?
You want to know what I was thinking about in the bathroom or not?
Ignoring her,
I know what you was thinking
About
about.
what me and Willie Harris was talking about last night.
immediately a refrain.
Willie Harris is a good-for-nothing loudmouth.
Anybody who talks to me got to be a good-for-nothing loudmouth, ain't he? What you know about who just a good-for-nothing loudmouth? Charlie Atkins was just a good-for-nothing loudmouth too, wasn't he? When he wanted me to go into the dry cleaning business with him, and now he grossing $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year. You still call him a loudmouth?
Bitterly,
Oh, Walter Lee.
she folds her head on her arms over the table, rising and coming to her and standing over her.
You tired, ain't you? You tired of everything. Me, the boy, the way we live, this beat-up hole, everything, ain't you?
She doesn't look up, doesn't answer.
So tired, moaning and groaning all the time, but you wouldn't do nothing to help, would you? You couldn't be on my side for that long for nothing, could you?
Walter, please leave me alone.
A man needs for a woman to back him up.
Walter.
Mama would listen to you. You know she listen to you more than she do me, and Benny should think more of you. All you got to do is just sit down with her when you're drinking your coffee and talking about things like you do, and
He sits down beside her and demonstrates graphically what he thinks her methods and tones should be.
you just sip your coffee, see, and say easy like that you've been thinking about that deal Walter Lee is so interested in, about the store and all, and sip some more coffee like what you saying ain't that important to you. And the next thing you know, she listening good and asking questions. And when I come home, I can tell her the details. This ain't no fly-by-night proposition, baby. I mean, we figured it out. Me, Willie, and Bobo.
With a frown,
Bobo.
Yeah. You see, this little liquor store cost $75,000, and we figured initial investment on the place be about $30,000. See, $10,000 each. Of course, there's a couple hundreds you gotta pay, so you don't spend your life waiting for them clowns to get your license.
You
approved.
mean grab?
frowning impatiently.
Oh, don't call it that. See there? That just goes to show you what women understand about the world. Baby, don't nothing happen for you in this world unless you pay somebody off.
Walter, leave me alone.
She raises her head and stares at him vigorously, then says, more quietly,
Eat your eggs, they're gonna be cold.
straightening up from her and looking off.
See that? Man says to his woman, I got me a dream, and his woman say, eat your eggs.
Sadly, but gaining in power,
Man say, I gotta take hold of this here world, baby. And a woman will say, eat your eggs and go to work.
passionately now.
A man say, I got to change my life. I'm choking to death, baby. And his woman say,
In utter anguish as he brings his fists down on his thighs,
your eggs getting cold?
Walter,
softly,
that ain't none of our money.
not listening at all or even looking at her.
This morning, I was looking in the mirror and thinking about it. I'm 35 years old. I've been married 11 years. And I got a boy who sleeps in the living room.
Very, very quietly.
And all I got to give him is nothing. Nothing but stories about how rich white people live.
Eat your eggs, Walter.
Slams the table and jumps up,
Damn my eggs. And damn all the eggs that ever was.
Then go to work.
looking up at her,
See, I'm trying to talk to you about me.
shaking his head with the repetition.
And all you can say is eat them eggs and go to work?
Warily,
Honey, you never say nothing new. I listen to you every day, every night, and every morning, and you never say nothing new.
shrugging,
So you would rather be Mr. Arnold than be his chauffeur. So I would rather be living in Buckingham Palace.
That is just what's wrong with the colored woman in this world. Don't understand nothing about building the men up, making them feel like they somebody, like they can do something.
dryly but to hurt.
There are colored men who do things.
No thanks to the colored women.
Well, being a colored woman, I guess I can't help myself none.
She rises and gets the ironing board and sets it up and attacks a huge pile of rough, dried clothes, sprinkling them in preparation for the ironing and then rolling them into tight, fat bowls. Mumbling,
We one group of men tied to a race of women with small minds.
her sister Benitha enters. She's about 20, as slim and intense as her brother. She is not as pretty as her sister-in-law, but her lean, almost intellectual face has a handsomeness of its own. She wears a bright red flannel nightie, and her thick hair stands widely about her head. Her speech is a mixture of many things. It is different from the rest of the family's insofar as education has permeated her sense of English, and perhaps the Midwest rather than the South has finally at last won out in her inflection, but not altogether, because over all of it is a soft slurring and transformed use of vowels, which is the decided influence of the South Side. She passes through the room without looking at either Ruth or Walter and goes to the outside door and looks, a little blindly, out to the bathroom. She sees that it has been lost to the Johnsons. She closes the door with a sleepy vengeance and crosses to the table and sits down, a little defeated.
Morning, Benny.
I'm going to start timing those people in that bathroom.
You should get up earlier.
Her face in her hands, she is still fighting the urge to go back to bed.
Really? Would you suggest dawn? Where's the paper?
Pushing the paper across the table to her as he studies her almost clinically, as though he has never seen her before.
Benny, you are one horrible-looking chick at this hour.
Dryly,
Good morning, everybody.
senselessly,
How's school coming?
in the same spirit,
Lovely. Lovely. And you know, biology's the greatest.
looking up at him.
Yesterday, I dissected something that looked just like you.
I just wondered if you made up your mind and everything.
Gaining in sharpness and impatience.
And what did I answer yesterday morning? And the day before that?
From the ironing board, like someone disinterested and old,
Don't be so nasty, Benny.
still to her brother,
And the day before that? And the day before that?
defensively,
I'm interested in... Is something wrong with that? Ain't many girls who decide...
in unison,
To be a doctor.
silence.
Have we figured out yet just exactly how much medical school gonna cost?
Come on out here, please.
Walter Lee, why don't you leave that girl alone and get on out of here to work?
Exits to the bathroom and bangs on the door. She comes back into the room, looking at his sister intently,
Beneath it, you know the check is coming tomorrow.
turning on him with a sharpness all her own.
That money belongs to Mama, Walter. And it's for her to decide how to use it. I don't care if she wants to buy a house or a rocket ship or just nail it up and look at it. It's hers. Not ours. Her.
Bitterly,
Now, ain't that fine? You just got your mother's interest at heart, ain't you, girl? You're such a nice girl, but mama can always take a few thousand and help you through school, too, can't she?
I have never asked anyone around here to do anything for me.
No, but the line between asking and just accepting when the time comes is big and wide, ain't it?
with fury,
What do you want from me, brother? That I quit school or just drop dead? Which?
I don't want nothing for you to stop acting holy around here. Me and Ruth done made some sacrifices for you. Why can't you do something for the family?
Walter, don't be dragging me in it.
You are in it. Don't you get up and work in somebody's kitchen and help with clothes on her back?
Walter, that's not fair.
It ain't that nobody expects you to get down on your knees and say, thank you, brother. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, mama. Thank you, Travis, for wearing the same pair of shoes for 2 semesters.
dropping to her knees,
Well, I do. All right. Thank everybody. And forgive me for ever wanting to be anything at all.
pursuing him on her knees across the floor.
Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me.
Please stop. Your mama will hear you.
Who the hell told you you had to be a doctor? You so crazy about messing around with sick people? Then go be a nurse like other women. Or you could just get married and shut up.
Well, you finally got it said. It took you 3 years, but you finally got it said. Walter, give up. Leave me alone. It's Mama's money.
He was my father, too.
So what? He was mine too and Travis's grandfather, but the insurance money belongs to Mama. Picking on me is not going to make her give it to you to invest in any liquor stores.
Under breath, dropping into a chair,
And I, for one, say God bless Mama for
to
that.
Ruth,
See? Ruth, did you hear? Did you hear?
Honey, please go to work.
Nobody in this house is ever going to understand me.
Because you're a nut.
Who's a nut?
You are a nut. V is mad, boy.
looking at his wife and his sister from the door, very sadly,
The world's most backward race of people, and that's a fact.
turning slowly in her chair.
And then there are all those prophets who would lead us out of the wilderness
Walter slams out of the house.
into the swamps.
Benny, why you always got to be picking on your brother? Can't you be a little sweeter sometimes?
Walter walks in. He fumbles with his cap, starts to speak, clears throat, looks everywhere but at Ruth. Finally, To Ruth.
I need some money for coffee.
Ruth looks at him, then warns, teasing, but tenderly.
50 cents.
She goes to her bag and gets money.
Here. Take a taxi.
Walter exits. Mama enters. She is a woman in her early 60s, full-bodied and strong. She's one of those women of a certain grace and beauty who wear it so unobtrusively that it takes a while to notice. Her dark brown face is surrounded by the total whiteness of her hair, and being a woman who has adjusted to many things in life and overcome many more, her face is full of strength. She has, we can see, wit and faith of a kind that keep her eyes lit and full of interest and expectancy. She is, in a word, a beautiful woman. Her bearing is perhaps most like the noble bearing of the woman of the hearers of South-West Africa. Rather as if she imagines that as she walks she still bears a basket or a vessel upon her head. Her speech, on the other hand, is as careless as her carriage is precise. She is inclined to slur everything, but her voice is perhaps not so much quiet as simply soft.
Who that round here slamming doors at this hour?
She crosses through the room, goes to the window, opens it, and brings in a feeble little plant growing doggedly in a small pot on the windowsill. She fills the dirt and puts it back out.
That was Walter Lee. He and Benny was at it again.
My children and their tempers. Oh, Lord. If this old plant don't get more sun than it's been getting, it ain't ever gonna see spring again.
She turns from the window.
What's the matter with you this morning, Ruth? You looks right peaked. You aiming to iron all them things? Leave some for me. Benny, honey, it's too drafty for you to be sitting around half-dressed. Where's your robe?
In the cleaners.
Well, go get mine.
I'm not cold, Mama. Honest.
I know, but you're so thin.
Irritably,
Mama, I'm not cold.
seeing the make-down bed as Travis has left it.
Lord have mercy. Look at that poor bed. Bless his heart. Travis tries, don't he?
She moves to the bed Travis has sloppily made up.
No, he don't half try at all, because he knows you're going to come along behind him and fix everything. That's just how come he don't know how to do nothing right now. You done spoiled that boy so.
Folding bedding.
Well, he's a little boy. Ain't supposed to know about housekeeping. My baby, that's what he is. What you fix for his breakfast?
Angrily.
I feed my son, Lena.
I ain't meddling.
Under breath. Busybodyish.
I just noticed all last week he had cold cereal. When it starts getting this chilly, a child ought to have some hot grits or something when
Ruth, furious.
I gave him hot oats. Is that all right?
I ain't meddling.
Pause.
Put a lot of nice butter on it.
Ruth shoots her an angry look and does not reply.
He likes lots of butter.
Exasperated.
Lena?
Mama to Benitha. Mama is inclined to wander conversationally sometimes.
Benny, what was you and your brother fussing about?
It's not important, Mama.
She gets up and goes to look out at the bathroom, which is apparently free, and she picks up her towels and rushes out.
Ruth, what was they fussing about?
Now you know as well as I
Shaking
do.
her head.
Brother still worrying himself sick about that money?
You know he is.
You had breakfast.
Some coffee.
Girl, you better start eating and looking after yourself better. You're almost as thin as Travis.
Lena,
Uh-huh.
what are you going to do with it?
Now, don't you start, child. It's too early in the morning to be talking about money. Besides, it ain't Christian.
It's just that he got his heart set on that store.
We ain't no business people, Ruth. We just plain working folks.
Well, ain't nobody business people till they go into business. And Walter Lee says colored people ain't never gonna start getting ahead till they start gambling on some different kinds of things in the world. Investments and things.
What done gotten to you, girl? Walter Lee done finally sold you on investing?
No. Mama, something's happening between Walter and me. I don't know what it is, but he needs something. Something I can't give him anymore. He needs this chance, Lena.
Frowning deeply.
But liquor, honey.
Well, Walter say I expect people always gonna be drinking themselves some liquor.
Well, whether they drinks it or not ain't none of my business. But whether I sells it to 'em is. And I don't want that on my ledger this late in life.
stopping suddenly and studying her daughter-in-law.
Ruth Younger, what's the matter with you today? You look like you could fall over right there.
I'm tired.
Then you better stay home from work.
I can't stay home. She be calling up the agency. My girl didn't come in today. Send me somebody. My girl didn't come in. Oh, she just have a fit.
Well, let her have it. I'll just call her up and say you got the flu.
Laughing.
Why the flu?
'Cause it sounds respectable to them. Something white people get too. They know about the flu. Otherwise, they think you're being cut up or something when you tell them you're sick.
I got to go in. We need the money.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Somebody would have thought my children done all but starved to death the way they talk about money here late. Child, we got a great big old check coming tomorrow.
Sincerely, but also self-righteously.
Now that's your money. It ain't got nothing to do with me. We all feel like that. Walter and Benny and me, even Travis.
Mama thoughtfully and suddenly very far away.
$10,000.
Sure is wonderful.
$10,000.
You know what you should do, Miss Lena? You should take yourself a trip somewhere to Europe or South America or someplace.
Throwing up her hands at the thought.
Oh,
No,
child.
I'm serious. Just pack up and leave. Forget about the family and just have yourself a ball for once in your life.
Mama dryly.
You sound like I'm just about ready to die. Who'd go with me? What I look like wandering around Europe all by myself?
Shoot. These here rich white women do it all the time. They don't think nothing about packing up their suitcases and piling on one of them big steamships and whoosh, they gone, child.
Something always told me I wasn't no rich white woman.
Well, what are you gonna do with it then?
I ain't rightly decided.
Thinking. She speaks now with emphasis.
Of course, some of it got to be put away for Beneatha's medical school, and ain't nothing gonna touch that part, nothing.
She waits several seconds, trying to make up her mind about something, and looks at Ruth a little tentatively before going on.
Been thinking that maybe we could meet the notes on a little old two-story somewhere with a yard where Travis could play in the summertime. If we use part of the insurance for a down payment and everybody kind of pitch in, I could maybe take on a little day work again.
Studying her mother-in-law furtively and concentrating on her ironing, anxious to encourage without seeming to.
Well, Lord knows we put enough rent into this here old rat trap to pay for 4 houses by now.
Looking up at the words rat trap, and then looking around and leaning back and sighing in a suddenly reflective mood.
Rat trap. Yes, that's all it is.
Smiling.
I remember just as well the day me and Big Walter moved in here, though. Hadn't been married but 2 weeks and wasn't planning on living here no more than a year.
She shakes her head at the dissolved dream.
We was gonna set away little by little, don't you know, and buy a little place out at Morgan Park. Even picked out the house.
Chuckling a little.
Looks right dumpy today. But child, you should know all the dreams I had about buying that house and fixing it up and making me a little garden in the back.
She waits and stops, smiling.
And didn't none of it happen.
Dropping her hands in a futile gesture, keeps her head down, ironing.
Yes, life can be a barrel of disappointment sometimes.
Honey, Big Walter would come in here some nights back then and slump down on that couch there and just look at the rug and look at me and look at the rug and then back at me. And I'd knowed he was down then, really down.
After a second very long and thoughtful pause, she is seeing back to times that only she can see.
And then, Lord, when I lost that baby, little Claude, I almost thought I was going to lose Big Walter, too. Oh, that man grieved himself. He was one man to love his children.
Ain't nothing can tear at you like losing your baby.
I guess that's how come that man finally worked himself to death like he done. Like he was fighting his own war with this here world that took his baby from him.
He sure was a fine man, Mr. Younger.
Crazy about his children. God knows there was plenty wrong with Walter Younger. Hard-headed, mean, kind of wild with the women. Plenty wrong with him. But he sure loved his children. Always wanted them to have something, be something. That's where Brother gets all these notions, I reckon. Big Walter used to say he'd get right wet in the eyes sometimes, lean his head back with the water standing in his eyes and say, seemed like God didn't see fit to give the black man nothing but dreams. But he did give us children to make them dreams seem worthwhile.
She smiles.
He could talk like that, don't you know?
Yes, he sure could. He was a good man, Mr. Younger.
Yes, a fine man. Just could never catch up with his dreams, that's all.
Benita comes in, brushing her hair and looking up to the ceiling, where the sound of a vacuum cleaner has started up.
What could be so dirty on that woman's rugs that she has to vacuum them every single day?
Well, I wish a certain young woman round here who I could name would take inspiration about certain rugs in a certain apartment I could also mention.
Benita shrugging,
How much cleaning can a house need, for
Mama not liking the Lord's name used thus.
Christ's sake?
Benny,
Just listen to her. Just listen.
Oh, God.
Benny, if you use the Lord's name just one more time.
Benita, a bit of a whine.
Oh, Mama.
Just fresh as salt, this girl.
Benita, dryly.
Well, if the salt loses its savor.
Now that will do. I just ain't gonna have you round here reciting the scriptures in vain, you hear me?
How did I manage to get on everybody's wrong side by just walking into a room?
What time you be home from school?
Kinda late.
With enthusiasm,
Madeline is going to start my guitar lessons today.
Mama and Ruth look up with the same expression.
Your what kind of lessons?
Guitar.
Oh, Father.
How come you done taking it in your mind to learn to play the guitar?
I just want to, that's all.
Mama smiling.
Oh, child, don't you know what to do with yourself? How long
Looking
it gonna
at
be
Ruth.
before you get tired of this now? Like you got tired of that little play acting group you joined last year.
Mama to Benita.
And what was it the year before that?
The horseback riding club for which she bought that $55 riding habit that's been hanging in the closet ever since.
Benita sharply.
Why you got to flit so from one thing to another, baby?
I just want to learn to play the guitar. Is there anything wrong with that?
Ain't nobody trying to stop you. I just wonder sometimes why you has to flit so from one thing to another. You ain't never done nothing with all that camera equipment you brought home.
I don't flit. I experiment with different forms of expression.
Like riding a horse.
People have to express themselves one way or another.
What is it you want to express?
Benita angrily.
Me!
Mama and Ruth look at each other and burst into raucous laughter.
Don't worry, I don't expect you to understand.
Mama to change the subject.
Who you going out with tomorrow night?
Benita with displeasure.
George Murchison again.
Mama pleased.
Oh, you getting a little sweet on him.
You ask me, this child ain't sweet on nobody but herself.
Under breath.
Express
They
herself.
laugh.
Oh, I like George all right, Mama. I mean, I like him enough to go out with him and stuff.
For defilement.
What does "and stuff" mean?
Mind your own business.
Oh, stop picking at her now, Ruth.
She chuckles, then a suspicious sudden look at her daughter as she turns in her chair for emphasis.
What does it mean?
Benita warily.
Oh, I just mean I could never really be serious about George. He's so shallow.
Shallow? What do you mean he's shallow? He's rich.
Oh, hush, Ruth.
I know he's rich. He knows he's rich, too.
What other qualities a man got to have to satisfy you, little girl?
You wouldn't even begin to understand. Anybody who married Walter could not possibly understand.
Mama outraged.
What kind of way is that to talk about your brother?
Brother is a flip. Let's face it.
Mama to Ruth helplessly.
What's a flip?
Ruth, glad to add kindling.
She's saying he's crazy.
Not crazy. Brother isn't really crazy yet. He's an elaborate neurotic.
Hush your mouth.
As for George, well, George looks good. He's got a beautiful car and takes me to nice places, and I even like him sometimes. But if the Youngers are sitting around waiting to see if their little Benny is going to tie up the family with the Murchisons, They are wasting their time.
You mean you wouldn't marry George Murchison even if he asked you someday? That pretty rich thing? Honey, I knew you was odd.
No, I would not marry him if all I felt for him was what I feel now. Besides, George's family wouldn't really like it.
Why not?
Oh, Mama, the Murchisons are honest-to-God, real, live, rich colored people. And the only people in the world who are more snobbish than rich white people are rich colored people. I thought everybody knew that. I've met Mrs. Murchison. She's a scene.
You must not dislike people because they well off, honey.
Why not? It makes just as much sense as disliking people because they are poor. And lots of people do that.
Ruth, a wisdom of the ages manner to Mama.
Well, she'll get over some of this when
Get over it. What are you talking about, Ruth? Listen, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm not worried about who I'm going to marry yet. If I ever get married.
If? Now, Benny.
Oh, I probably will. But first, I'm going to be a doctor. And George, for one, still thinks that's pretty funny. I couldn't be bothered with that. I am going to be a doctor, and everybody around here better understand that.
Mama kindly.
Of course you're gonna be a doctor, honey, God willing.
Benita dryly.
God hasn't got a thing to do with it.
Benita, that just wasn't necessary.
Well, neither is God. I get sick of hearing about God.
Benita.
I mean it. I'm just tired of hearing about God all the time. What has he got to do with anything? Does he pay tuition?
You about to get your fresh little jaw slapped.
That's just what she needs.
Why? Why can't I say what I want to around here like everybody else?
It don't sound nice for a young girl to say things like that. You wasn't brought up that way. Me and your father went to trouble to get you and brother to church every Sunday.
Mama, you don't understand. It's all a matter of ideas. And God is just one idea I don't accept. It's not important. I am not going out and be immoral or commit crimes because I don't believe in God. I don't even think about it. It's just that I get tired of him getting credit for all the things the human race achieves through its own stubborn effort. There simply is no blasted God. There is only man, and it is he who makes miracles.
Mama absorbs this speech, studies her daughter, and rises slowly and crosses to Benita and slaps her powerfully across the face. After, there is only silence, and the daughter drops her eyes from her mother's face, and Mama is very tall before her.
Now you say, after me, in my mother's house, there is still God.
There is a long pause, and Benita stares at the floor wordlessly. Mama repeats the phrase with precision and cool emotion.
In my mother's house, there is still God.
In my mother's house, there's still God.
A long pause. Mama, walking away from Benita, too disturbed for triumphant posture, stopping and turning back to her daughter.
There are some ideas we ain't gonna have in this house. Not long as I'm still head of this family.
Yes, ma'am.
Mama walks out of the room. Ruth, almost gently with profound understanding.
Benny, you think you a woman, but you still a little girl. What you did was childish, so you got treated like a child.
I see.
Quietly.
I also see that everybody thinks it's all right for Mama to be a tyrant. But all the tyranny in the world will never put a God in the heavens.
She picks up her books and goes out. Pause. Ruth goes to Mama's door.
She said she was sorry.
Mama,
Lena?
coming out, going to her plant.
They frightens me, Ruth. My children.
You got good children, Lena. They just a little off sometimes, but they're good.
No, there's something come down between me and them that don't let us understand each other, and I don't know what it is. One done almost lost his mind thinking about money all the time, and the other done commenced to talk about things I can't seem to understand in no form or fashion. What is it that's changing, Ruth?
Ruth, soothingly, older than her years.
No, you're taking it all too seriously. You just got strong-willed children, and it takes a strong woman like you to keep them in hand.
Mama, looking at her plant and sprinkling a little water on it.
They spirited all right, my children. Got to admit they got spirit, Benny and Walter. Like this Little old plant that ain't never had enough sunshine or nothing. And look at it.
She has her back to Ruth, who has had to stop ironing and lean against something and put the back of her hand to her forehead. Ruth, trying to keep Mama from noticing.
You sure loves that little old thing, don't you?
Well, I always wanted me a garden like folks had down home. This plant is close as I ever got to having one.
She looks out of the window as she replaces the plant.
Lord, Lord, ain't nothing as dreary as the view from this window on a dreary day, is there? Why ain't you singing this morning, Ruth? Sing that No Ways Tired. That song always lifts me up so.
She turns at last to see that Ruth has slipped quietly to the floor in a state of semi-consciousness.
Ruth, honey, what's the matter with you?